Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering human creativity. I am Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Kenneth Kellogg, who is a world-renowned bass vocalist. I am so excited to have him on the show. This show is co-curated with our creative partner, the Seattle Opera. Kenneth has a wonderful, wonderful partnership with which we will talk about. But Kenneth, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
So I am so excited, just to be able to talk with you. And especially, I think a lot of times, there are those in our audience who are thinking, how does someone build a sustainable career in the arts? How is it built? So I'd love to kind of talk about some of that machinery that you've been able to put in place that goes above and beyond the extraordinary talent that you bring that, of course, has to be there. But first and foremost, I thought if you could just share with the audience, kind of what's happening with the Seattle Opera and how do you view that partnership, those types of things.
Yeah, Seattle has come kind of a second home for opera. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., so I work a lot there. But Seattle, I've done some amazing work there, starting with Giovanni. It was the first thing I did out of COVID. Then we did Blue right after that, which was a role that was written for me. And I have two upcoming roles with them, Das Rheingold, where I'll play Fafner, later in a couple months, actually. And then my first time ever singing Anthony Davis's Malcolm X will be early next year. I'm really looking forward to that.
That is awesome. And of course, is going to be extraordinary for the audiences there. And one of the things that I was wondering is there, as you look at that type of partnership, are there aspects that you think, so in other words, there's many people that are either at opera companies or are at orchestras who are thinking and saying, how do we really build kind of, these types of sustainable relationships with extraordinary artists? Are there any aspects that you feel are inherent in the relationship that Seattle is bringing that as you look, you're like, this is why this is a second home to me, and this is why audiences are.
Yeah, I mean, the arts are interesting. There's a lot of heart that goes into arts, and I think we miss that aspect of it a lot of times. It can be nuts and bolts at times, but there's a lot of heart and soul at the creative aspect of it. So when you work with a company that you feel that with, those companies are what I like to say feels like home for me. And that relationship it becomes mutual. They respect the work that you do, and they respect the heart that you bring to your craft. And then they hire you repetitively because they respect what you bring to the artistry. That's how, for me, that's how companies become home. It's that mutual respect for how we approach art.
I love that. I love that. And for you, are there aspects that you're like, I need to bring this to make sure, right, the relationship sustains?
Of course.
For those who are aspiring artists who are thinking, oh, all right, I've got to do this, or I've got to, get this practice in. Would you say, what are the top for you kind of 2 or 3 components that you're like, these are key, and this is why I'm sought after. This is why the performances that I have are successful and the relationships I'm building are successful?
Yeah. So for me, it all begins with a dedication to the craft. There's not a day that goes by that I don't do something to work on my artistry and work on my art. I sing every single day. If I'm not singing, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about singing. And it comes with that recognition that you're part of this artistic fabric of creativity, of art all over the world. And you have to find out what you can contribute and what you're good at to contribute to that fabric. And for me, I really go after the humanity of characters. I try to find the humanity of people. And that tends to connect with audiences. It tends to connect with presenters because it endears the audience to me as an artist because I'm able to find that thing that makes them want to come to see a show. that mutual humanity.
Love that. Absolutely love that. There's and especially I've of course experienced that so many times as an audience member, just connecting with an artist who's either brought the humanity of a character or has brought their own humanity to their artistry.
Yeah,
That is extraordinary.
absolutely.
So these are, of course, right, kind of these artistic components. I wonder if you could speak at all to kind of the logistical components of an artist and a successful career and or building successful relationships. Obviously people talk about networking a lot or those types of things.
Yeah.
There too, are there any kind of key aspects that you feel that you brought that you're like, you know what, this is really what has helped? Like I'm bringing obviously the artistry and this is this approach and my uniqueness as an artist, but then these parts are also really important.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. It all begins with you as an artist. You have to figure out what you contribute or can contribute that's unique to the field, and I feel like I've found that. So I try to find my tribe. I try to find my people. It's I think of it less as networking, because networking can be so cold and it seems so callous sometimes, and it seems opportunistic. For me, it's finding my people. It's finding where my artistry is appreciated, finding people who feel the same way about art as I do. And I find that tends to be well for business. People constantly ask me back because they like me as a person. They like me because I show interest in them. We can make art together and not be about money or about business. I mean, there is that aspect to it, but the reward comes in having fun making art with people. The money comes as a result of that.
I love that. And especially because so many, especially I think young people tuning in are like, oh, the networking part, it's just so tedious. It's not
Yeah.
can't I just do my art kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah.
You talked about how, but if the art is there and the authenticity is what it sounded that.
Oh, authenticity is important. It's really important. I'm horrible at networking. I don't think, I try not to think about it as networking, because I'm a very shy person, and to network to me doesn't seem genuine. But finding my people and finding the mutual humanity in how we approach art is, I can be authentic and be my full self in that and not have to pretend to be something else.
Awesome, awesome. So another question, of course, that a lot of people are thinking about and have talked about, DE&I, or diversity and inclusion in the arts and in the work that we do. And so I'm always kind of curious, and I think there are those in our audience who are very curious. How do you view it? Does it play a role as you think about either the relationships you're building or the roles that you take on, or just wondering if it plays a role at all for you?
Absolutely, it plays a role. I mean, DEI, it's become a hot button topic now, and a lot of it has become about race. I think DEI is more about it's more about people. I mean, I think we've gone so far on the spectrum of it just being about black, white, that we've lost the true meaning of what it means to be diverse. It's a mutual respect of someone's, again, going back to that humanity, and allowing people to be themselves without infringing on and putting my own beliefs on them, and being willing to accept whatever I'm presented. For me, that's the heart of DEI. It's about a communication and about a willing to accept someone as they present themselves. And it comes with the works too. Opera is, it's been a white male dominated art form for a long time. So there is that work that needs to be done with broadening the stories that are told. And, as someone who comes in very authentic, I have no problem, no problem speaking up when I see things that things can be better. I just had an instance I was doing a workshop with a world-renowned composer with the new opera he has coming out. I won't say his name, but at the end of the piece, he asked for suggestions or thoughts, And everyone was sheepishly in the room, not speaking up, because who's going to say anything? But I spoke up, and it's like, this needs to happen in this particular story. And it took some courage and it took some authenticity to be able to speak and be true to who you are as an artist. And I just saw this composer yesterday, and he said that input, he changed the whole end of the opera based on that input. So it's finding, where your voice can be heard and where your voice can be appreciated, and making change where you can.
I love how you just, kind of both shared that and the kind of import of it, and how it all ties into kind of this almost theme that I hear you sharing about the authenticity of your art, and how, it's not the networking, it's you come together, and if you're able to make great art together,
Oh, absolutely.
the money happens. And because of that mutual respect, you can really make great art, because if you have that, both the courage but also the space to share that feedback, now that art making is better, that opera will be better, etc., because more voices were involved in it.
Absolutely.
So I absolutely love that. It's just, you're incredibly inspiring. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time, but I like to ask this of all my guests. There's got to be, even despite these extraordinary artistic experiences you are having and creating, there's got to be tough days where it might almost feel like, the goals or the dreams aren't happening. And in those moments, is there a place you turn? Is there a mechanism you have that helps you get through those tough times?
Yeah, I was just in London, and it really hit me. I was in the beautiful museum in London. I was, admiring all the art, admiring the craftsmanship, just the tiniest detail. And I was struck that all of these things were created by artists. When we look back in history, when we look back in over time, where those people don't exist anymore, what is left is the art. And that's how we learn about ourselves. That's how we discover ourselves. That's how we communicate and feel, is through art. And to be a part of that fabric of storytelling of our humanity, of the past and the future, is really inspiring to me.
Kenneth Kellogg, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Pleasure.